Hello, and welcome to Spirituality 2. My name is Jerome, and this is video 2 in the I Ching series. Chapter 2 is called The Receptive. The description of the chapter is basically 6 unbroken lines. It's the exact opposite of the creative. The creative is 6 solid lines. This is 6 broken lines. It represents the earth. It represents the other primal power aside from heaven and earth. Yin and yang, 1 and 0, day and night. The hexagram is made up of unbroken lines only. The broken lines represent the dark, yielding, receptive, primal power of yin. The attribute of the hexagram is devotion. Its image is the earth. It is the perfect complement of the creative. The complement, not the opposite. For the receptive does not combat the creative, but completes it. It represents nature in contrast to spirit, earth in contrast to heaven, space as against time, the female maternal against the male paternal. However, as applied to human affairs, the principle of this complementary relationship is found not only in relation between men and women, but also between prince and minister, between father and son. Indeed, even in the individual, this duality appears in the coexistence of the spiritual world and the world of the senses. But, strictly speaking, there is no real dualism here, because there is a clearly defined hierarchic relationship between the two principles. In itself, of course, the receptive is just as important as the creative, but the attribute of devotion defines the place occupied by this primal power in relation to the creative, for the receptive must be activated and led by the creative. Then it is productive of good. Only when it obtains this position and tries to stand, only when it abandons this position and tries to stand as an equal side by side with the creative, does it become evil. The result is opposition and struggle against the creative, which is the productive power of evil on both. The judgment. The receptive brings about sublime success, furthering through the perseverance of a mare. Keep in mind the creative was a dragon. If the superior man undertakes something and tries to lead, he goes astray. But if he follows, he finds guidance. It is favorable to find friends in the west and south, and to forego friends in the east and north. Quiet perseverance brings good fortune. The 4 fundamental aspects of the creative, sublime success, and furthering through perseverance, are also attributed to the receptive. Here, however, the perseverance is more closely defined. It is that of a mare. The receptive connotes spatiality, reality, in contrast to the spiritual potentiality of the creative. The potential becomes real and the spiritual becomes spatial through a specifically qualifying definition. Thus, the qualification of a mare is then added to the idea of perseverance. The horse belongs to the earth, just as the dragon belongs to heaven. Its tireless roaming over the plains is taken as a symbol of the vast expanse of the earth. This is the symbol chosen because the mare combines the strength and swiftness of a horse with the gentleness and devotion of a cow. Only because nature in its myriad forms corresponds with the myriad impulses of the creative can it make these impulses real. Nature's richness lies in its power to nourish all living things. Its greatness lies in its power to give them beauty and splendor. Thus, it prospers all lives. It is the creative that begets things. They are brought to birth by the receptive. Applied to human affairs, therefore, what the hexagram indicates is action in conformity with the situation. The person in question is not in an independent position, but is acting as an assistant. This means they must achieve something. I'm sorry, guys. It is not their task to try to lead. That would only make them lose the way, but to let themselves be led. If he knows how to meet fate with an attitude of acceptance, he is sure to find the right guidance. The superior man lets himself be guided. He does not go ahead blindly, but learns from the situation what is demanded of him, and then follows this intuition from fate. Since there is something to be accomplished, we need friends and helpers in the hour of toil and effort. Once the idea is to be realized or firmly set, the time of toil and effort is then indicated by the West and the South. For the West and the South symbolize the place where the receptive works for the creative, as nature does in summer and autumn. If in that situation one does not mobilize all of one's powers, the work to be accomplished will not be done. Hence, to find friends there means to find guidance, both in addition to the toil and effort. There is also a time of planning, and for this we need solitude. The East symbolizes the place where a man receives orders from his master, and the North a place where he reports on what he has done. At that time, he must be alone and objective. In this sacred hour, he must do without companions, so that the purity of the moment may not be spoiled by factional hates and favoritism. The image. The earth's condition is receptive devotion. Thus, the superior man who has breadth of character carries the outer world. Just as there is only one heaven, so too there is only one earth. In the hexagram of heaven, the doubling of the trigram implies duration in time. Once again, duration in time. But in the hexagram of earth, the doubling connotes the solidity and expansion in space, by virtue of which the earth is able to carry and preserve all things that live and move upon it. The earth, in its devotion, carries all things, good and evil, without exception. In the same way, the superior man gives his character breadth and purity and sustaining power, so that he is able to both support and bear with people and things. Let's reread that. The earth in its devotion carries all things, good and evil, without exception. In the same way, the superior man gives to his character breadth, purity, and sustaining power, so that he is able to support and to bear with people and things. The creative is pure primal power, the actuating mechanism of the universe that begets things in the future of time. The receptive is the other half of the equation in which the creative stimulates the receptive and creates a relationship, if you will, though opposite. And through that relationship, all other things come into being. The power of God lies in the creative. The power of life lies in the receptive. When the two combine properly, you have a complete picture. My name is Jerome, and this has been Chapter 2 of the I Ching, or Book of Changes. I hope you have a good day.